Okay, to check for spark, I'm going to use a pair of vice grips to hold the brake handle on the lawnmower. This happens to be a pair of needle nose vice grips, but the body of the vice grip all works the same way. You've got a dial on the end. If you watch the gap on the jaws, as I dial in, the jaws get closer together, and eventually the jaws will tighten. If I open the handle and then dial it in some more, then eventually the jaws make contact here, and if I squeeze, then the jaws will stay locked. Okay, and then there's a tab here that you squeeze to release them again, like that. And then if you're clamping onto something larger, like a pair of handlebars, I turn this dial counterclockwise the other way, and when I close it, notice that the jaws don't actually make contact, but they will on the handlebars. And I'm just going to snap that brake lever on. So now I don't need a second pair of hands. Well, I'm going to try and do this. This will be a little awkward, but I'm basically going to pull the cord. The cord's up here to the left. I'm going to pull the cord with my left hand, put my boot against it so that the mower doesn't move, and I'm going to see if I can show you guys an ignition spark. Let me zoom in like that, and spark plug's there, and I'm wedging it into the brake cable bracket right there, and hopefully it stays put and doesn't move around, and hopefully you guys can see a spark when I pull the cord. And I'm not sure if that showed up or not. This is a pretty hard thing to film, but basically that's what you're trying to do. Okay, ground out the spark plug against the engine somewhere. Make sure that your brake cable is actually held, because the brake cable stops the rotation of the blade, but it also kills the electrical signal to the spark plug. So if you try to do this with the brake cable released, your spark plug is not going to get any spark energy anyway, and you'll think you got a bad spark plug, and it's because the brake cable is actually killing ignition power to the spark plug. So you have to kind of know what's going on there. Other stuff, you've got different materials out here on your motor. Okay, if you listen carefully to this, and then, okay, so this upper piece is actually plastic, that's metal. Well, when you ground out your spark plug, you have to ground out to something that conducts electricity, and plastic doesn't. Plastic's an insulator. Now, this is metal, but this won't actually ground out the spark plug either, because if you look at it, it's got paint on it, and paint is basically a thin layer of plastic, and it acts like an insulator. So if you try to ground out your spark plug against this, it won't work. You've got to go to some bare metal on the motor here. I see the head of a bolt right here. That would work. You could ground out to the bolt. Okay, you could ground out to this bracket, but this will not work. The deck is painted, and the recoil housing here, this won't work either. Okay, mufflers are metal. They don't paint them because the paint always burns off. So that would be another spot you could try. Okay, so if you're testing a spark plug and you don't get a spark, check and make sure that you're grounding out to bare metal. Okay, and then that'll give you a more honest result. Okay, another thing you can try is take a spark plug from something that you know is running. If it's a good spark plug and it's just come out of a running machine, then you can plug it in here and test it. And if the spark plug came out of a running machine, plugs in here and won't spark, then you got a problem with your ignition system here, right? Take the spark plug out, go back to the running machine, plug it in, and if that machine runs, you know you got a good spark plug, and then you know that you got a problem with your ignition system here. So that's one of the diagnostics tests that you can do to check for ignition.